for this thing. So I'm not even going to intro you yet. We're gonna jump into
Yeah, we're
why
just
it's
chopping it up.
this important.
Yeah.
Because I was curious on what your percentage guess would be on if you never go into an office around other good people, how many do you think have stayed since you brought them in?
Bro, dude, I could build something. I bet, dude, I'm thinking 20 plus times quicker being around people than not. Like, it's not even close. It's not even in the ballpark for me. You can't create a culture. You can't. Yeah, I can look at it two ways, from staff standpoint or agent standpoint. I think agent standpoint, dude, someone sitting around in their PJs in the living room that you can't see. There's no fucking way you can build a really good culture with everybody sitting around by themselves remote. There's no way. You can't convince me you can do that as effectively as you can if you're around people. Now, unfortunate part of building this thing is we started growing outside of our local area. You by default they couldn't be with me, which is why we started streaming some stuff. But then for me, I just taught everybody to do what I did, which is why Athena had an office and Zach had an office and Nick had an office and Dom. Everybody started having offices. They were duplicating what we had, and I would just travel to them. And we blew up because of that. And then from a staffing standpoint, dude, there's nothing there's not a human being on the planet that will convince me ever in the history of time that staff working from home don't dick around half the day. You will never convince me of that ever. I did it. I worked from home as an employee, and I know what I did. You know, and I'm not a fan, dude. And if we need to get something done now, I can be like, yo, Amanda, hey, Andres, hey, you know what I mean? And just we can talk, we can get things done now. Whereas if people are at home, man, I don't know. And I see people build valid businesses with remote workers. I just it's a different game, dude. And I don't like that game. It's just not for me. I like to feel and touch and have conversations and build rapport, and you know what I mean? Like, I want something done. I want it done now. I don't want to have to wait till everyone in different places is done with whatever break they're on at the current moment and have to set up a Zoom to I'm like, hey, y'all come here. you know.
Mm.
And then with the agents, again, you get to see them and touch them and feel them, and not in a weird way like some of you know what I mean? But like, if someone's messing up phone script and they're right next, I can be like, let's go. You know, I was talking to someone yesterday that was trying to do this Zoom boot camp thing. And I'm like, how many of the agents are like unmuted? And they're like, oh, none of them want to unmute. And I'm like, how can you help them? You can't hear what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? So for me, man, I remember building this thing. I'd be like, yo, Easton, you ready to dial now? What, like right now? I'm like, oh yeah, here's the leads, call them. And I would stand right over your shoulder coaching you. I mean, there ain't nothing like that remote. You know what I mean? And again, there are benefits to remote. I'm not blind to those things, but I'm a big fan of building something local and in an office setting and having that vibe and that culture, man. I wouldn't change what we did ever for the world. So
I think it's insanely. I mean, dude, even if right now you look at the groups that seem to be moving the needle at an accelerated rate, dude, they got massive warehouses, big office spaces
yeah,
open. They're,
100%.
you cram 100 people into an area and versus 100 people working at their house. Productivity, there's no scenario that you can match because you don't have the internal competition, you don't have the daily training.
Yeah.
Well, I need to ask a question. I can't walk into John's office if I'm
Mhm.
out in Colorado and I'm
Yeah.
working in my basement with a family and a screaming kid. Like, it just doesn't work like
Yeah.
that.
It doesn't, dude. Again, even if you want remote agents, all good. But why would you not have something local to you if you're trying to build something big? You can't convince me that that can't outpace whatever you're doing currently. You know what I mean? Again, have a small office, have 20 people in it. Those 20 will outdo 100 sitting at home for sure. We lived it. I mean, you've been to
Did it
our
out of
office back in the
jail?
day.
We literally
Huh?
did it out of a jail in Parker. That's where we started.
Yeah. Dude, ours was
No
no
regulation.
different. Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
remember that joint. 100%, man.
oh, this is 100% not intentional at all. I'm just gonna I'll just park my wisdom book out for everybody
I
to
love it. I love it,
see.
man. It's right
Um,
here.
by the way, I was laughing because the concept, and this is a huge reason of why I was like, dude, we're overdue to have John on, because the do more now, get better later. I was like, I'm not 100% sure it was based on my career here, but there's a chance that's how we kind of it. Um,
That's why I love your story, dude, because it's the way I taught this. And I taught it that way because it's the way that things changed for me. I didn't come in and make the change as quick as you did. You know what I mean? It took me a little longer to figure it out because I was the analytical type, trying to figure out how to make everything just perfect before I started investing more and doing more. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was a conscious decision. Like, fuck this getting better thing right now. And not get rid of it completely, but like most people are like, I want to get better and then I'll buy more leads. I want to get better and then I'll run more appointments. I want to get better and then I'll recruit. I want to get better and then I'll do this. I just flipped them, dude. And I'm like, let me do more and I'll worry about getting better second. But also, I knew if I do more, I will by default get better. It's like a natural consequence. I don't consequence ain't the right word, but it's a natural like I don't know. I'm going to use the word consequence because I'm stupid and can't think of a better word. But it will by default happen as you do more. You know what I mean? You naturally, it's a natural tendency to get better by things. So it was an active choice for me, man, to just stop worrying about all the little details and just be who I was. My close ratio was what it was. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not your 90% close ratio guy. You know that. Nor do I need to be. And I think, to be honest, I think all the people who say they are fucking lying. And the guys that don't have chargebacks, there's very few of them, if any. And for me, I never wanted to build my business on that. You know, the whole concept of like the bell curve. Those guys are on the far ends. If you're one of those guys, no need to argue with me. I'm high five. I can't teach on that stuff though. You know what I mean? But that middle chunk of us everyday people that just want to work hard and make a living for our family, dude, for me that was a choice because I was dicking around for 2+ years, super mediocre because I thought I had to know the 12 steps to closing every human on earth. And I thought I had to, you know what I mean? And those things are important. But I was just trying to get them. I just had my priorities out of order, man. And so watching you do it as quickly as you did, doing in 2 months what took me 2 years to figure out, I just was like, you were early on in my building. I mean, you've been here for a minute. I was still kind of raw trying to figure out what the hell I was doing. It was you were kind of at the beginning of like teaching in layers for me. You know what I mean, I was teaching a lot of people direct. You were one of the first ones in depth that I was working with at a higher level. And man, I've been teaching this. That was, I don't know how long ago, 6, 7 years ago. That's been a minute.
yeah, I mean, 5.5 years ago when you opened that office, we came out there I mean, shit, right after it was open.
Yeah. Yeah.
And went and saw you guys. So maybe this wouldn't be a bad place because there's a big chunk of new guys that are,
Mm-hmm.
in kind of getting rolling. So they might not know like your
Yeah.
full background stuff, and like the getting started and then quitting thing, I think is like one of my
Yeah.
favorites. So if you just want to give them like a little brief synopsis of that, because I think that's important.
Yeah. I mean, the simple answer is I say I've been in the business 12 years, but it's actually been significantly longer. Um, I applied to a Craigslist mortgage protection ad in 2008, probably mid 2008. Um, it took me till March of 2010 to get my license. That says anything, you know. So a year and a half from applying and being quote unquote hired by some guy off the internet to a year and a half getting my license. And then it took me till August of 2012 to sell my first policy. So 4 years from when I applied till I sold a policy. I picked up the phone and dialed once in 2010 when I got my license, like March of 2010. I think I got my license, and called leads once. I was working a full-time job. I was an accountant, like office, controller, AP, doing things like that. Not a CPA. And I picked up leads one day, man. Dialed in my basement, Steph's basement. At the time, I just moved in with her. We've been together a couple years at this point, and Maddox wasn't born yet. He was born in 2011. It was right around the time we got married. And went down in her basement, made some phone calls one day, bro. And I was like, fuck this. This don't work. Leads are stupid. No, but they didn't. None of these people filled it out. None of these people wanted it. They're all wrong numbers. And I quit, dude. Went back, stayed on my accounting job. 2 years, miserable, working for some schmuck I couldn't stand. I had an hour and a half commute. I was making 40 grand a year. Miserable. Taking home like 512 bucks a week or something. With 5 kids, man. Thank God she had a good job. She was making decent money. Not crazy, but she was making 60, 70 grand. So she was paying my bills, decent amount of, you know what I mean? Like she was helping with all that stuff. And I always wanted more though, dude. I always wanted to get out of the rat race. I always felt like I should be someone, I always felt like I could make a bunch, like I felt like I was meant for more, you know? But at this point I was, oh man, 30, I don't know, 30, 35, 36 years old, whatever it was. And, tired, bro. So decided in a buddy of mine, actually, funny enough, that I hired from I was in the mortgage industry once for half a minute. And a buddy of mine reached out to me on social and was like, hey, what are you up to? I found this thing. I think you'd be good at it. So I call him and he's like, insurance. I was like, nah, bro, I tried that. It ain't for me. But, we sat down. He offered to meet me at the bar, which I'm a big fan of because you can get vodka there. So I went and hung out at the sports bar with him. And he just explained the business to me in a different way. He showed me other people that were he was not successful like crazy. He was paying his bills, but he wasn't killing it. Wasn't selling a shitload of insurance. I mean, you know who it is. Great dude, one of the best human beings there is, but he was promoting it just because of what he saw. Um, and he introduced me to some people that were killing it, and I was like, tired, man. I'm like, I got to make a move. My license actually expired at this point, so I had to renew it. I didn't have to retake the test. It was just close enough where I could renew it and pay a fee. And I renewed it, man. And I sat on his back deck, called his old leads, and made my first sale that first week, getting back in there. And I was like, it's made like 2 grand. And I'm like, all right, there's something to this. And then I just started getting attached and seeing what people were doing and, seeing the guys who you all know today, the Mark Meads and Sean Mikes of the world. I was just at a distance watching those guys and they're out there making 2, 3, 4, 500 grand a year. And I'm like, if they can do it, why can't I? And again, I didn't come into it killing it right after that, but I started seeing some vision, man, so I don't know, a little bit of a 4-year journey it was like cranking an old lawnmower, trying to get that bitch started. And it was like, that was like me. It's like, what's wrong? I know this thing cuts. I just don't know how to get it started. I was like that, man. You know,
No, that's
um,
awesome.
yeah,
This is why it's so important not to be a dick to people that don't get their license for a while.
yeah,
I was 15 months, dude, to get my license. So imagine somebody calls you 2 months in, they're like, don't ever waste your time coming here because you're wasting my time and
yeah.
it's like being disrespectful. You'd hate to lose Wetmore as a teammate or business partner. So
And
that's
people did, bro. The people I first applied with are not the people I ended up working with. I made some calls trying to get some help, and people were like, "eh." So I switched it up a few times. I still know them. The people that I initially started with are still in the business, and we know each other now. Now, I've never sat down and go like, "Do you remember?" I don't know if they remember or not, but I definitely know who they are, and they definitely know who I am today. I don't know if they've connected the dots or not, though. Just kind of funny. Nor do I know if it would have worked out had I stayed. You know what I mean? I just don't know. But my path worked out, man. And it's been a long journey since then. But I eventually figured this sucker out. And when I did, it's been lights out since.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah. So, and I think that that's where maybe we can get into some actionable items too, because
Yeah.
the like, hey, where do I like John? I'm trying to figure out where am I screwing up? Like, what do you feel like I can do more? Because I don't think that anybody can audit activity to the level that you can make people regret calling you for help. Um,
Yeah.
in a good way. But why don't you go through? and we can even go to however specific that you want from like when we were doing stuff together, but like, hey, I'm trying to figure out where I should make my move and like, how do you uncover this person? This is this person's problem. So like,
Yeah.
what kind of information are you looking for to help them make those adjustments?
Yeah. I mean, dude, we'll do it with someone on here if someone has the nuts to get on and wants some help. I mean, I could talk hypotheticals and how we do it, but if someone like that doesn't already know what's coming, you know what I mean? Like Orlando, dude, I know you, Brian, like y'all, I've done this to you guys. You know what I'm saying? But if you got someone on there that has the nuts to get on and wants some actual help, is willing to change, we'll go through some stuff. You know what I mean? Some guy that's stuck, a girl that's stuck, whatever. And we do this shit live, bro. And really try to figure some things out. If you want, your call. This is your call. I'm just saying, if someone ready to change, you know, who's I like what's up, Ty? I see over there with a gang of people back there. I like this. Oh damn,
Oh yeah,
Lewis
so
got it.
here,
Oh, are
look,
those fake people behind Lewis? I think those are fake people.
yes, they are. We got real people.
Yeah.
That's my family, dude.
I only so on my screen you're this big, so I can hardly
Yeah,
see anything.
yeah, that's all right. Hey, I'll go through this. I'll go through this audit, man.
I love
I
it.
need help, dude. I'm done. I've been struggling. Every part of your story, almost to a T, like hits home with me. So not to
Why is
step
that?
in inappropriately, just because I went through the exact same thing, man.
It's
I
definitely not
feel like
inappropriate when we asked for it.
yeah.
I appreciate you. Why did you say it relates? Tell me a little bit more. I don't think we've ever met, have we?
A couple of times
Okay.
at this
I
most recent
apologize.
convention. That's okay, man. I know you meet a lot of people. I don't take it
Yeah.
personal, not at all. Um,
Is that who's the person on the left behind you? On my
that's me.
left. Okay,
That's
I know
probably
that dude. You look different in the picture. I'm like, I
yeah,
met that dude on the left.
yeah.
Okay,
So,
cool.
um, sorry, so I forgot what were you specifically looking for me to say, John, or respond to?
Easton, can you add him so I can see him bigger too? Is that a thing? That way he's not like a little mini thing. Unless there we go. Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I recognize you for sure. Take it.
Hi guys.
Cool.
So I just
You
dude,
you
like
said you said it's relatable.
yes.
Give me a little clarity. Why?
So I started 2.5 years ago, roughly January of 2022.
Okay.
Had some decent success. I mean, certainly came in and was willing to put in the work, and then struggled and fluctuated in my efforts. Kind of, bought in, then bought out, and have struggled in a lot of the same ways that I think you kind of go through in your book and your story and stuff. Just
All right.
from the
Two
mental.
things.
Yes, sir.
When you said had some success at the beginning, define that for me first.
Like
The short version. What does that mean?
So I think within the first 30 days, I had somebody that helped me run telesales appointments. And then I had done like my first 10K week in the first 30 days. And then after that, I just rode a roller coaster down. I don't remember the details, but
That's okay. So
I put in the effort, and then yeah, I've been
and
fucking
then you
around.
said the struggle. When you say struggle, define that for me. What does that mean?
As far as having the
I don't know. You
success
said,
that first.
yeah, you said after that I struggled. What does that
Dude,
mean?
I think number one, I probably mismanaged the commissions, being naive that first month and having some relative success. I think I probably should have been more intentional about what I did with that money, but I didn't understand at the time that it wasn't just going, I was like, oh man, this is working. It's going to keep coming. And then it didn't. And I didn't know where to turn or who to turn
Yeah.
to. And then because the success kind of stopped, I kind of stopped putting the work in because I was concerned that it was a fluke. And I would say
Yeah.
I've repeated that behavior probably 18 times over the last 18 months.
So you've been on trainings. You've heard people
Yes,
talk
sir.
about it.
Yes,
So
sir.
you've heard us say if you slow down, you're going to get whacked on the back end.
Yep.
You've heard people talk about consistency.
Yep.
I assume you've heard of people talk about having to invest in leads regularly,
Mm-hmm.
or chargebacks are going to hit you on the back end
Yep.
right after.
Yep.
So why were you surprised by it if you knew it? Like, why did you choose it if you
Because
knew
I
that
knew
was?
it, dude. I heard it. I heard it like so
I
many other
agree with
things
you.
in my life, and I didn't apply it.
My question is why?
That's the thing. It was me. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I think to this day, what I've kind of realized in the last couple of weeks is I've put a lot of work in to try to get back on track is that I think it was like just self-sabotaging behavior, limiting beliefs. Like I had a fluke success. I had left a career in law enforcement. 3 months prior to that, I'd like lost my personal identity, if you will, because of how attached I had become to that job. And
Yeah.
so I would plug in and hear these trainings like, oh, I got to do it. And then I would like do it and then fall off. And I would repeat that cycle with all these different aspects of the business. And I think it was, I'm listening to all this stuff, but I'm not taking back and saying, what am I going to do with the information that I just received? And that, so anyway,
Did you go back to another job, or were you just kind of sitting around like diddling and doing nothing, or what were you
no, I mean,
on the
I
downtime?
went out and worked a couple of different jobs like landscaping to make quick money. I worked as a safety officer at a school for a period of time.
Hey,
And
what's
then
quick money in landscaping? What's that mean?
like, hey, I can go out today and do a job and bust my ass and get, paid $2,000 in the next 2 days for the work that I do.
Isn't that exactly how insurance works?
Yeah, man, it is.
Okay.
Yep.
So you chose to do landscaping instead of this because it
Yes.
was comfortable?
Dude, I don't know. I think it was the security of knowing like, hey, dude, if I go and do this for the next 2 days, I know for sure
Okay.
that this person's going to pay me. But with insurance, I hadn't gotten over that hump yet. I was
So
like,
my
dude,
question is,
Yeah.
how long in like exhausting or days in landscaping to make a couple grand?
maybe 2 12-hour days, 12 hour
Hardscapes
days.
kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, like labor.
Yeah.
All right. So if you spent 12-hour days on the phone here, you're telling me you can't trip over 2 grand?
I know you can now. I mean, I see it. I
All right.
absolutely.
What are you doing activity wise now?
My objective, I think right now, the goals that I have.
Not objective. What are you doing? In the last August, roughly, how many, I don't know, presentations do you think you made in August?
In August for the whole month.
Yeah. Roughly, ballpark it for me if you don't track them. Which, by the
I
way,
don't know.
I
I don't
assume
know.
you.
I do track them. I just don't know offhand. I would say probably 50.
All right.
50 conversations.
So two things. If you don't know them, that means you don't really track them.
Okay. Yep. I'm
Fair.
familiar with that.
Yeah. And I assume you've heard us say how important it is to track your numbers.
Yes.
Right. And again, imagine doing landscaping for a living and you have no idea how many clients you see in a month. You don't know how much you spend on the rocks before you install them. You know what I mean? Like it's no business sense whatsoever.
Yep.
Fair?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So my question to you is, are you ready to actually be coachable and do the shit you know you're supposed to do?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you have to start with the basics, dude.
Yep.
Like my son Maddox is 12 and he had like a business fair at school this year. And he sold what are those little ice cream things? The little round circles that they put in little cups.
Like Dippin'
What do they
Dots.
call them? Dippin' Dots. Yep, he sold Dippin' Dots at school. And after school, I was like, "How'd you do?" And I don't know his numbers because I didn't do it. But he came home. He's like, "Dad, we bought 100 Dippin' Dots. I spent $247 on the Dippin' Dots. I sold them for $5 a pop. My profit was $312.15." And he's 12.
Yep.
It makes sense. It's like normal.
Absolutely. Yes, okay, sir. Yep.
So let's say 50 presentations in the month. Okay. What's that break down to a week?
Roughly 12.
Okay.
12 actual presentations. Okay.
How long is one presentation?
Probably at least 45 minutes, sometimes 90.
So
depending
call it an hour average.
Yes.
Fair?
Yep.
So 12 presentations, an hour average is how many hours presenting in a week?
12.
Okay. Now you just told me in landscaping you were doing 12 hours a day because you can quote unquote make fast money.
Mm-hmm.
But in this world where you're watching Jake and Easton and some of these other guys print money, you're doing 12 hours a week.
Yeah. It's embarrassing.
Okay?
Yep.
Now, how many phone calls roughly does it take you to book your 12 a week, roughly?
Well, I think that's just the number of presentations. I mean, I know. Okay.
No, I understand. How many phone calls are you making to get those 12? Roughly. Ballpark. If I had a gun to your head and I'm like, how quick can you book 12?
1,800. somewhere
It
between
takes you
12 and
1,800 phone calls to present 12.
yeah,
Okay.
to set the appointments to make and then to actually have the 12 people sit.
How many days a week are you down?
5 to 7. Typically I do Monday through Friday and then Saturday morning and sometimes Sunday afternoons.
So a couple $100 a day.
I'm looking to hit 300 dials a day, either run 2 to 3
Okay.
presentations or set 4 to 6 appointments.
Okay.
And then I guess a hat trick would be to do all 3 of those in a single day.
All right. So we'll call it your 300. Even we're rounding up. I feel like, but we're gonna benefit you here because you need it, or you'll be really embarrassed.
Hey, you can embarrass me, man. That's why I jumped on here. I got to be accountable,
again,
dude. I've been hanging out, fucking not being accountable.
300.
Myself,
so if you're booking 12 a week, that means you're booking basically 2 a day, right? Roughly.
Well, no, I'm not booking 12.
Presenting 2 a day. Presenting 2 a day. Yeah, sorry, I misword. Yep. So you're making 300 phone calls in a day, which means 298 of them are doing nothing but ringing because you're only presenting to 2.
No. So typically I'm using those.
Meaning you might talk to a couple and they hang up on you, just dumb shit.
Well, or set appointments. Yeah. Typically I'm trying to set appointments. Yeah.
I got it. Yeah.
Okay.
But again, most of them are not answering.
I understand where you're going. Yes.
Yep. You get a handful that pick up and say, yes, I'll be there. And then they aren't there. But those last a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, if you're like dragging it out.
Right.
So again, 300. So you call me once and I don't pick up. No one's confused. That takes less than a minute on average. So you got 300 of those max per day. Okay. So an hour is 60. So you can do 60 in an hour. So 60, 120, 240, 300. I can do 300 phone calls in 5 hours. If I do them appropriately, do them back to back, don't have gaps, don't call carriers, don't call grandma, don't change a flat tire, don't schedule, don't do dumb shit in between. Fair? Again, I have a gun to your head and I'm like, how quick can you make 300 dials? 5 hours, I think, is a stretch.
Yeah,
correct.
Probably less. Absolutely.
So we got 5 hours calling very inefficiently, it sounds like. Probably need some work on that.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if you're an emotional dude or something's causing you to have a lot of dials and not a lot of result, right? There's some gap there.
Okay.
So we can dive into that separate thing. Again, if you're spending 5 hours max on the phone and a couple hours presenting, I mean,
not working enough.
It doesn't sound like you're working at all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yep.
And if you're not coachable, which you said you weren't previously, I'm going to go ahead and guess that's probably why you're having to make 300 phone calls to present to 2 people. Because I promise you, it don't take Easton 300 phone calls to present to 2 people. I promise you, it don't take Jake to take 300 phone calls to present to 2 people. There's no way. I mean, you got killers you're surrounded by. And my guess is, correct me if I'm wrong, you're choosing to isolate yourself and figure this thing out on your own and kind of do it. It's like, it's really hard to correct yourself when you're the one making the mistakes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And there's something wrong with 2 years of 300 plus phone calls and 2 presentations. The math don't math.
Right.
So it's cool that you're making a couple a day. I ain't mad, but it's like, where can we improve? One, you said you ain't working enough. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, if you're spending 12 hours a week, you're a salesperson for a living. 12 hours a week presenting your product.
It's that simple.
So the question is, what do you expect presenting 12 hours a week? Do you expect to get rich with that?
No.
Or do you now expect it to be inconsistent and relatively suck forever?
And I no longer want that. I'm no longer willing to accept that, man.
Yeah. So then the question is, who do you work with directly?
Nat DiCarlo.
I don't know him off the top of my head. Apologize if I should.
I don't think you should. I mean, well, he was one of the guys. He was one of the Hall of Fame producers that kind of
Hey,
started the
Easton,
sales
why do
training.
you think, because you know your group better than I do, and we can skip me asking questions to guess, why do you think it takes him 300 phone calls to make 2 presentations? What do you think he's doing wrong?
I would almost guarantee that you've done no front end skill set development on the phone and your time between dials is horrendous.
Do you dial on your phone?
No, I have a CRM. Ringy.
Cool. Yeah. Is that a fair assessment from Easton?
Absolutely.
Okay. So why do you suddenly want to change? Like, why is it important for you to actually change?
Because I'm tired of riding this roller coaster that's my own doing,
Okay.
I'm tired of, I was in a car accident last night with my youngest daughter, and my truck was totaled, and I've got some money in the bank from doing this business and the other thing, but I realized, like, I don't want to be in a position where my $5,000 work truck gets totaled and I can't go out and buy another one without having to think about it. And I'm sitting on an opportunity where I can absolutely do that. And I'm watching all these people doing it and not believing that I myself can do it. And I'm isolated, and I've been acting like mediocre me wants to define the outcomes of my life for the next 20 years. And I'm not willing to allow that to happen, because
Is that your wife in the picture?
yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Does she work?
She manages Airbnb rentals.
Okay.
So
Do you get to provide the life for your family right now that you want to?
Not that I want to. No.
Okay. What kind of things could you do better for your family? What kind of what things could you do differently if you actually made the money you see other people making? Like, how would that change your situation?
I mean, my wife probably wouldn't continue managing Airbnbs. I wouldn't have to think twice about putting my kids in club sports if they wanted to do that.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have to, budget as strictly to try to put money aside for my oldest daughter's first car that's coming up in a year. Be able to take my kids and my wife on vacation. I mean, all of that stuff. Be able to actually be a resource for other people rather than like a liability. There's a lot, man.
Yeah. Hey, you have the path. You know what I mean? It's like, but are you going to keep, the question is, are you just going to keep bullshitting and thinking you can wing this industry, wing this career?
No, I'm not.
And it's like, you said you're a cop. Did I hear that? Did I correct that earlier? Yeah. Can you imagine were you like patrol?
No, man, I was actually really successful.
No, what do you mean? As a
cop? I worked as a patrol cop for
That's 3.5. Did you do patrol at some point?
Yes.
Did you get into like investigation and shit?
Yes.
Okay. Can you imagine if you wing that? What would be an outcome? What happened if you winged patrol?
Just be a shitty cop, man.
Or dead.
Yeah.
My uncle did that for a living. He was patrol, and then he went into investigation and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, why not treat this the way you treat the other things in your life?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you've got to find a way to hold yourself accountable to that every day. We can all do it and beat your head against the wall, but you've got to really actually fucking want it, dude.
Yeah.
And you reach out to the guys that you can reach out to, and you're showing the effort to learn this like you learned that. Again, I love Easton. I've heard his phone script, dude. It's intentional, but anyone can fucking say it. There's nothing magical about it other than he did the reps and he studied it and he tweaked it because the result he was getting wasn't what he wanted. So he reached out for help and asked questions on what he can do better than anyone else I've ever worked with. He owned everything that he did wrong. He didn't blame no one for nothing, dude, ever. That was my favorite part of him. He's like, yo, fix me. Hey, what am I doing wrong? And he'd implement like that. He didn't drag nothing out. You know what I mean? He'd have something implemented basically before we hung up the phone. And so many of y'all, I appreciate you being kind of the, test dummy for this. and because this applies to many other people, and at least you had the nuts to get on and put yourself out there, which I have mad respect for, because everyone else had the opportunity and you took it, you know. So I would love to be able to help you as well, you know, but you're gonna have to put in some work, dude.
I appreciate it, man. You guys taking the time and allowing me to interrupt the
No, it's not an interruption, dude, at all. I mean, that's what we do this for, you know. Have you read the book yet?
Yeah, I'm about 3/4 of the way through. I got it right here on my desk.
Cool. I love it. Have you hold on. I can still hear you, so keep talking. I'm just gonna grab something for you. I'm gonna send hold on. What do you think that you've read so far you need to implement most that you've read?
I think just doing more, man. I mean, that was the biggest thing, and I don't know why. Like I've struggled with this by myself because I don't know why I've allowed myself to settle for this standard. And I don't know, I know that a lot of this stuff is probably redundant and stupid, but like this opportunity you guys open up the mic and nobody saying for me was like, dude, this is the chance for you to fucking hold yourself accountable and step out and stop hiding. Because I know, man, when I look at it, it's like, oh, I could do more work. But then yeah. So anyway, I'm not going to beat a dead horse.
I appreciate you getting on, bro. Do this. I want you to. So you saw in the book one of the parts of it is doing. Have you been to the part where you do the goals and the schedule exercise yet? If you did, hey, if you are, you would know it, or you skipped it.
I'm not. I'm not there.
Okay, cool. When you get to that part, I want you to do that exercise and send it to me.
Okay.
If I was smart, I'd know what page it's on, but it's in there somewhere. I don't. So when you get to the goals and the schedule exercise, just shoot me a DM or whatever, get my number, text me, and okay. I'll point you in the right direction. You got plenty of good people on your. Orlando looks like he's going to find it for us. I can see him. And make a change, dude, for your family.
Yeah, appreciate it.
For me, when I made that change, dude, it was overnight. I made a decision on a Monday, and Monday afternoon, dude, I changed my entire world, and I went from issuing 8, 10, 12 grand a month for 2 prior years to hitting 40, 50, 60 every month for the next 2 years. Built the team, started training on it, put $1 million in my own pocket, was able to put all my kids in private school together. Every kid that's hit driver's license age, I get to buy them a car. Got my daughter in college, paying for her college. You know what I mean? All my kids go to the fucking country club. Maddox is sitting at the country club now while I'm doing this call. He's chilling, playing golf, sitting by the pool. My oldest son, Braden, he lives with his mom still, but he comes by the country club, golfs, brings his friends, gets to have lunch with them. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't even have to think about that stuff anymore because I wanted to be a provider to my family. I was tired of watching other people allow their children to live differently and me just sitting on the sideline like a chump making excuses for not being able to do it.
Hey, John, I found it.
Where's it at, Orlando?
Is it this one, the mark? This one right here?
I can't see.
Is it the March?
That looks like the calendar. Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? It's page 73.
Yeah. Cool. Well, if you're 3/4 through, bro, you passed it.
No, I'm not 3/4, man.
Rewind.
Yep.
All right, get into it. I'll tell you this, and then Easton, we can get into whatever. So, like, doing more is about doing more, right? And that's what you need to do right now. But at the end of it, you also have to get really efficient, and do more means more than just work hard for me. So it stands for like discipline. So like doing more this week doesn't mean shit if you don't do it again next week.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like my son Maddox, he's in pitching lessons, and he's learning to throw like a slider. He's lefty and tall, and he has nasty movement naturally on his ball, but he's learning how to like actually pitch. And so sometimes he'll throw it, it'll cut, and it'll like land in just the perfect spot the way the coach wants him to. Get everything right. He'll get his balance right, his foot right, his shoulder right. Everything aligns. It's a perfect pitch. And then the coach always asks him, he's like, all right, what's the $1 million question, Maddox? And now he's learned. Can you do it again? You know what I mean? So don't get excited when you have a hot day, a hot week, a hot month. Who gives a shit? Can you do it again? Can you line them up and stack them month after month after month after month? You know what I'm saying? You start issuing 30K, 40K a month, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12, 15 months in a row, bro, your life will change. You know, and then you go out of your way to teach a couple of people how to do it. Then ownership is just like, own your shit, dude, which you've done a decent job of on the call verbally. But the question is, behind the scenes, when you're at home, when you got stuff that comes up in your life, are you going to own that you're the type of person that is inconsistent and makes excuses for things and change it? You know, mistakes, you're making them now, which is cool. I ain't mad. I love when people want to make mistakes. Messing up is part of the journey. But are you getting feedback on your mistakes? And then are you implementing the things that you're told to change from those mistakes? Most people aren't even willing to make mistakes. Of the ones that are going out and making mistakes, most people want to blame other people for the mistake. You know, people reach out to me a week and they're like, can you give me the lead? Where do you get leads, man? And I want real good quality leads. You know, the ones that don't say they didn't fill it out. And I'm like, that's like Maddox blaming the ump when he loses a game. It was a bad call, Dad. Bro, you put yourself in a position, even if it were a bad call, why'd you put yourself in a position to where that bad call affected you in the game?
Yeah.
So you got a bad batch of leads, quote unquote. All right. You know, if you made 500 grand last year, you wouldn't give a shit. Yeah. So y'all are putting yourself in a position to where those things affect you when they shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even if there's a problem, how did you get in that situation to where it became a problem? Chargeback hit today. Okay. You know how many chargebacks fucking Jake has in a week? Selling what he sells? Buckle up. Someone bitched at me the other day. I had 8 no-shows this week. Okay. I know people had 8 no-shows today. Suck it up, Buttercup. You know what I mean? It's like part of this. Get feedback and implement. All of you have heard a lot of this stuff before. Most of you aren't implementing the things you're hearing. And that's the problem. Repeated mistakes are really stupid. Mistakes, amen. Part of the process. We need them. Repeat them, that's your fault. Obsession. I mean, that speaks for itself, dude. Orlando, I think, posted it. You want to get paid like a professional? You better act like a professional. And you need to be obsessed with getting better at this. You need to be obsessed with self-development. You need to be obsessed with your career. Some of y'all been messing around 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 12, 15 months and still don't know like basic underwriting. Like what? You still don't know how to overcome? I want to think about it. Like what? I'm sorry. We have like 4 objections. You really don't have that down yet? Like, huh? You haven't figured out how to say something in advance to stop running into that same objection? Like, you know, we've taught this stuff. The objections haven't changed. I've been in this business 12 years. No one on here can give me an objection that we all haven't been teaching on for 12 years. And to be clear, we didn't invent none of it because they've been teaching on the same objections for 100 years. So there's no way that the training's not out there for the things that you're encountering. You're just choosing to go at this business like this. You know what I'm saying? Resilience, for me, that's just like, dude, we all got shit in life. You know what I mean? You want to have a shit in life comparison? You want to compare all our stuff together? You got in a car wreck, cool. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm at, and this is not on you. Like, all good. You know what I mean? People have stuff every day. You have stuff every day. Easton has stuff. We all got stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we got to get through it because life is still going to life and stuff is still going to happen. But you're never going to get out of that. And if you can't learn how to get through hard stuff, every time stuff comes up, you're going to use that as the excuse to validate why you're not successful. And then the people around you are going to help you validate that shit because they love you. And like, it's okay. You're just not meant for this. And it just doesn't work for everyone. And it's, you know, it's okay. You don't have to, you can just stay at home today. I know you're tired. I know we have a lot in life going on. Just stay. It's okay. Maybe you should just go back to be a cop. Maybe you should just do landscaping. You should do something more consistent. You need that guaranteed income. I'm like, yo, income's guaranteed for Easton. Jake ain't worried about guaranteed income. I ain't worried about a guaranteed income. I got guaranteed income all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? But the people around you, man, they're going to help you validate all your feelings. That's what we're inclined to do. And then expectations, man. We talked about that. My favorite quote I've ever heard of it. And thank God I heard it right before I published the book. I put in there Inky Johnson's quote. It said expectations is premeditated disappointment. So if you expect all of your leads to pick up and say, hey, Lewis, I've been waiting for you to call, man. What the hell took you so long? I got my checkbook and my ID ready. I don't even need you to send me your license. Just sign me up. In fact, I got 7 referrals waiting for you right here, too. That's how some people actually expect this thing to happen. It's premeditated disappointment. I mean, on purpose, you chose to be disappointed about a situation because you put these crazy expectations on things. You know what I'm saying? You expect every agent you hire to work out. You expect everyone to work hard every day. I'm like, careful with expectations, man. You know, you can have them of yourself that you're going to work hard and do what it takes. But like, if you think about any situation you're frustrated with in life, any person, any relationship, whatever you got going, someone you're mad at, frustrated with, a situation, I guarantee it's because of you expected things to be different than they were or are. Expectations are dangerous, man, when you put them on other people and things. You know, so it's like really learn to control those and maybe have them on yourself, but be very careful. You know, and I just think some of us look at that stuff wrong. So I am actually deeper than just work your face off until you run into a wall. And to develop those skill sets over time, man, is what took it to another level for me. And I went from, again, super mediocre to my income went to like first 9 months implementing this. I netted 350. Next year I made 650. Following year I made 1.8. And this has been nuts since then to continue to rise and selling the business and integrity and stock value and net worth. I mean, it's nuts, dude. This thing can happen quick. And I've seen it for a lot of people. I'm not unique. I'm not special. I just worked my fucking ass off and took this shit to heart and chose to make intentional changes, man. And I wanted to be what y'all see today. I wanted this. I dreamt about this stuff at night, dude. And I was willing to do whatever it took to get there. And I still am. You know, there's obviously 33 you on here, including us. But there's a whole lot of people who ain't on here because it's some kind of holiday. You know what I mean? So props to you for getting on and being involved. But it's like every day, dude, a lot of y'all by yourselves out there. You got to dig down deep and find a reason to hold yourself accountable every day and go out and make the changes. Make sense?
Makes dollars.
Well, shit, dude. I mean, that was a pretty good majority of what I was going to have you go through. So that really, dude,
What else you got, dude?
the big
I'm here
stuff.
for you, bro.
Yeah, I think focusing on your controllables,
Yeah.
is truly something that I learned directly from you, it matches the expectation. So just because you have 44 appointments in a week, it doesn't mean shit. Just because you present 15 times in 1 week, it doesn't mean anything. Like
means nothing. Again, if you had 44 this week and you do nothing for the rest of the year, then you only had 44 for the year. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, even if you have the 44, do you think every week's going to be perfect? Do you think every day is going to, I get people all the time, dude. It's like, I got my ass kicked today. What? I mean, 8 appointments and didn't sell anything. Oh, my bad. I thought you mean you actually got your ass kicked. You poor baby. 8 people didn't buy from you today. Aw. Like, what? You poor thing. Like, come on, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, sometimes, man, we can act like we're 8. And I didn't get the ice cream that I wanted. So I'm going to kick and scream over it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's wild, man, emotions, how they can take control of us, dude. As grown adult, like, and that's normal, to be clear. It just shouldn't be. So it's like, all right. And I just relate it to sports, bro. You know what I mean? Like baseball is the easiest analogy of this thing ever. Some of the greatest players on earth, dude, they'll go through a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 game streak of games where they don't get any hits or they stink it up and they go 1 for 20 or 1 for 30. Like it happens. But at the same time, they go on a streak and they go 4 for 4 and they hit 3 home runs or hit for the cycle. Or like, don't get too excited. You ain't made it nowhere yet because the bad side's coming. You know what I mean? It's like that roller coaster, dude. One of the best things I ever realized in this business is like most people are on this roller coaster and you go like $3,000 this month, $8,000 next month, $5,000, and 12,000, and $7,000, and 14,000. And when you do 14, everything feels good. When you do 7 the next month, not only does it suck, but the chargebacks from the 14 come right behind it. Right? So you do 7, you bring home 4, someone cancels, but then you get 3 chargebacks from the 14. Now you net nothing. Now you're scraping together lead money to try to struggle. You know what I mean? It's like this cycle. But what people don't understand, bro, is like, I don't know, you issued 800 something grand, whatever the hell the number was. And we go, all right, that's 70 grand a month, call it. You didn't issue 70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70. It was like 42, 83, 65, 92. Like that roller coaster's still there. It's just higher up in the air. And when you land it, when you learn how to manage the money along the way too, again, go from 90 to 60 in a month. That affects people too. Chargebacks on 90 in a month where you do 60, that hurts too if you spend 60. Does that make sense? So it's like you have to get used to the roller coaster, quote unquote. That's life. There ain't no life, no business, no nothing. That's like, there ain't nobody out there issuing the same exact amount every single month. It just doesn't exist. So if you can't get used to the roller coaster down here, you're not going to be able to manage it up there either. So I see some people put in the effort and they do more, but then they just spend more, or they go on vacation more, or they take more time. You know what I mean? And it's like the consistency's not there. So it's like, don't expect the ups and downs, quote unquote, to go away because they won't. For me, I would expect to have quote unquote bad days pretty regularly. It was certainly a little more rare to have a bad week if you're consistent, but there's still some weeks, as you know, you go out and present 20, 30, 40 times and you still throw up a donut every once in a blue moon. Once or twice a year, it still is like you have an off week. But dude, you don't really ever have a bad month when you stay consistent. You know what I mean? And you definitely ain't gonna have a bad year. And I think too many people judge this thing every single day. You know what I mean? The analogy I always use, bro, is like if we're trying to get in shape, like no one's confused on how to get in better shape. No one's confused. If I said, what do you have to do to get in better physical shape? Everyone on here could answer me within 60 seconds what they got to do. Fair?
Yep.
Then imagine they make those changes and they eat less like shit and they drink more water instead of liquor and sugary stuff and they eat more rice and chicken than fried stuff and they go start working out. But imagine if you check the scale every 45 minutes. You'd drive yourself mad and you'd never see a change. But if you stick to the routine, after 6 months, even go every 90 days, you check things. You measure your waist, you measure your biceps a little bit, you measure your body fat. You know what I mean? But every 90 days, dude, you look back and you do a comparison picture. You're 100% sure that you're going to see a difference. But you would never expect to see a difference. You start today, start checking the scale and breaking out the measuring tape at 4 p.m. Makes no sense. But in this, dude, people start making changes and they're like, it's noon, man, and I ain't seen nothing different yet. It's Wednesday and I ain't rich yet. It's October and still tough. I'm like, why don't we go on 90-day runs and look where you're at today, September 2nd, and then sometime in December, compare. And in the middle, stop comparing. Stop looking at results every day. Just judge your activity every day. Am I putting in the work? Am I doing what it takes? Because also, just as easily as we know what we got to do to get in shape, if I asked everybody in here what things they need to do, change, add, vary to have a better business and better results, I'm also convinced that everyone here within 60 seconds could give me that answer too. Right? But then somehow they think it's going to be different and they're going to see this magical change in a week. And can you see impact? Sure, a little bit. But it takes time to feel it and have it consistent and be bought in that without any doubt that I've made. Do you remember that feeling, bro? I don't know if you know it to the exact. I can tell you exactly when it was. When I was like, yo, I don't think this is going back to the way it used to be anymore. Like, I think I actually figured this fucking thing out. Dude, I know exactly where I was when it clicked one day. And I was like, holy smokes. Like something, like I made it to a new spot in belief level, in confidence, in track record. You know what I mean? I was doing the things I said I was going to do. So I had more belief in myself, more confidence. And a lot of us say we're going to do stuff and then we don't do it. And it's like, that doesn't do a lot for your self-image, you know?
It was
And
April of 2020 is exactly what had happened.
Yeah.
Exactly that month. Because it's like I was bouncing between like 40, 50. I'd cracked into a 60 number. And then that April came and did 93, team did 150. And I was like, holy shit, I can do this a bunch. Like I know exactly how to go out, and I knew if I wanted to go out and grab 75, I was never ever going to miss again, ever.
Yeah.
If I wanted to go sell that much, I could go get it whenever. And it was exactly 1 year that month to my start date where I was like, dude, I definitely know how to pick up checks now, and I'm never going to forget how to do it.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of this thing. It is like riding a bike once you get there. And so many people, man, they think that the feeling you have today, like I get hung up on, so it makes me feel like this, or I get no-showed and it makes me feel like this, or I get chargebacks and it makes me feel like this. I'm convinced, dude, people think if they do more of it, they're just going to feel like that more. And so they avoid it. And they also don't feel like it's ever going to change. Like I remember being out of shape, dude. And I would have to like bend over to tie my shoes. And when I stood up, I'd be out of breath. Like that didn't feel good. But I didn't think it was going to stay that way forever when I started going to the gym and working out a bunch. I knew eventually that feeling would go away. You know, and I think that a lot of y'all have to be willing to get through that phase and understand that. And most people have something in their background that they've done well in their life, you know? And if you think about whatever that thing is for you, maybe it was a sport, maybe it was some craft, maybe it was a job, maybe it was whatever it is. So something you were like ended up being really good at. But if you look back to the beginning when you first started that thing, unless you're some kind of weird prodigy, there was some kind of struggle or lack of confidence at the beginning of that. Again, whether it be a job or a sport or whatever. And that climb to that level of confidence, you can look back and see that experience in past things. So you have the ability to take something you're not good at and have fears with and struggles with and build it to something that you became good at. And this is no different. This is just reps, dude. And I heard one of the best sayings. I was at this event this week, dude. And this guy worded something in a way I've never heard in my life. And it was like a moment for me. And he goes, and I'm going to use, it was Lewis, right? That was his name. I'm going to use Lewis as the example, right? So 50 appointments, presentations in a month. Where at your peak, how many were you making, do you think?
Well, shit, 40, 160. So I was presenting 120 a month.
Okay, so 2.5 times, right? So in your week, it takes him 2.5 weeks to accomplish, right? So he said he's been in the business, what do you say, 2 years?
Yep.
Is that time frame? So 2 years. But if we took your activity relative to you, every year for him, you do in like 4 months. So he's been in the business 2 years calendar-wise. But on activity-wise, he's probably only been in the business like 6 or 8 months. Just based on reps. You know what I'm saying? And some people, they drag this thing out and they're like, I've been doing this for 3 months and I'm not having success. I'm like, if we had a timer on every day, and you got 40 hours in a week, but it takes you 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to do 40 hours of work. I'm like, your month is really only a week. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of people who say they've been in this business for a year and they really only been in it actively for a couple months.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I've never quite heard it worded that way. I'm like, I'm gonna start explaining that in a different way, and I really liked it, dude. And if people went at it with a little different pace, it's like the concept that I've always said. People go, I spent all day dialing and I didn't have any results. And I'm like, nah, there's a big difference between spending all day dialing and taking all day to dial. You know what I mean? There's some people who drag out 100 phone calls over the course of 12 hours. That does not mean you dialed all day. You know, and some people do this business the same way. I worked all week and I didn't have success. Dude, 12 presentations ain't working all week. It's taken all week to do 12 presentations, two very different things. You know, so he worked a quarter of a week this week. You know, and I just, if more people understood that piece, man, they'd go at this thing a little bit differently, and the expectation would be different. So
Yeah, it's basically the same concept of if you're in an office or home or in person, but you're in office 12 hours every day, you can audit your activity. You didn't necessarily work 90 hours this week. You had 33 functioning hours work. So why were you here all day? Like I would rather spend the other 60 not sitting in here just so that I can say, hey, I punched out less and got literally nothing done all day. Like that's a weird, well, I'll call it a, because I think that people do it.
Yeah, that's why I tied activity to times. So I gave myself credit for 1 minute per dial and 1 hour per presentation. And also, for me, I was recruiting, so I gave myself credit for 20 minutes every interview I did. So at the end of the week, I would look at how many phone calls I made, and I only counted them 1 minute each. I don't care how long it took me. I'd drag it out the entire week. If I made 60 phone calls, that's an hour. Does that make sense? My presentations were, and I go over this in the book, the presentations were 1 hour each. If I made 5 presentations this week, I only get credit for 5 hours. None of the other stuff matters, you know? And if I did recruiting calls, again, if I do 3 of them, I give myself credit for an hour. And at the end of the week, I needed 40 hours of those 3 things minimum. Or I was part-time and I had no business complaining. You know, so if I'm going to drag 40 hours out over a longer period of time, like you said, you know, some people can drag their 8 hours a day out over 15 hours. That don't mean you worked 15 hours.
It definitely does. And it'll, I mean, you're the one that has to square up with your results anyway.
Correct.
So,
yeah. This is not for me to judge you. This is how I judged me. All this stuff is what I did for me. You don't be like, you're an idiot and don't use it, or be like, oh, that's pretty fucking easy. I'm like, yeah, this is really easy. You know, and I did. I had to own my stuff, dude, and that's the way I judged me. And it worked for me. And I've been teaching this thing this way for 10 plus years, dude. And we've gotten a lot of good results. I'm helping a crazy amount of people still. I love helping people change their world, and, you know, people that are coachable, and help them be providers to their families the way I was able to, and help other people get rich. And I mean, it's a cool feeling to be able to do that.
Dude, that's why I will scream about I guess now you guys know where I stole the 90 days thing from. There's just, I've been ripping them up. We hired our first person. Like you have to look at 90-day cycles, because to go, dude, I've been busting it for 13 days straight, no days off. I'm like, congrats, you know, welcome to the
you want an award?
You need anything else?
Okay.
Anything else I can
And
help
again,
with?
for me, dude, even if we go 40 hours, which nobody's doing for the most part, if we added up your phone calls and your presentations, I bet there's not a person on here that it adds up to 40 hours. And if there is, it's one anomaly. You know what I mean? There's not many. But even if there were, I'm like, what's the average human being work in a week? Like, what's the standard? It's 40 hours. Dude, the person at McDonald's works 40 hours. You want an award for working 40 hours? Like, we're trying to get rich. I know people are broke as a joke. I used to have 2 jobs, work 60, 70 hours a week to make $600 a week. You know what I mean? I'm like, And we can't even get people to put 40 hours into their professional career where they're watching people all around them. And this ain't a new fad, dude. People have been printing money in this industry for decades and decades and decades. And the overwhelming majority of the history of this industry, there was no technology, there was no leads, there was no CRMs, there was no automations, there was no AI, there was nothing. They didn't have Zoom calls, they didn't have one call closes, they didn't have none of this shit y'all have. And they figured it out. You know what I mean? And now suddenly, bro, if Facebook AI robot doesn't drop a pre-booked appointment into your lap, people sit around doing nothing. I'm like, yo, why don't we go out in the world and generate business? Now, if you can buy it, buy it. You got time or money. You ain't got money, you got time. Like, there's salespeople all over this world flying all over the place trying to generate business every single day. And some people, dude, sit around in their undies waiting for those automated appointments to come in, or they refuse to work. I'm like, how many networking meetings you been to this week? How many referral partners you tried to create this week with other insurance companies that do health or Medicare or mortgage people or real estate people? You know what I mean? How many things have you done to generate business? How many posts have you put out on social media educating your followers on the good and the bad and the ugly of insurance? How many people in your phone have you called to see if they're insured or not? Dude, go out on the road and hold a sign up that says, I sell life insurance. You'll get some people. Go knock on doors around your neighborhood. Go to an apartment complex and bang on doors all day long. I don't want to do that. Cool. Stop bitching then. I ain't mad at you. But why do we have to wait for it to fall in our lap? Is that ideal? Yes. I hope we get 100 appointments in an hour without doing anything, just twinkle your nose. I hope. But the downside of that is, dude, you know what I always tell people, bro, is if that gets too good and too easy, like the basic concept of supply and demand, let's just pretend me and Easton sit down and we create this magical AI bot that closes everyone for you. What will that do? Just by default. Supply and demand. Dude, it'll cost a fortune and none of y'all be able to afford it. You know what I mean? It's like
Carriers will lower our commissions because we're not doing the work anymore. AI is doing
correct.
it.
It's like supply and demand. You'll never outdo supply and demand. You know what I'm saying? And if it just takes someone sitting around in their undies to make 400 grand, I'm telling you, they'll figure out a way to not need you or sell it to you for so expensive you won't be able to afford it anymore. But you know what never goes out of style, dude? Work. Going out in the world and telling people what you do for a living, finding opportunity, creating opportunity, generating leads, like just the momentum from going out and being a professional, dude, that will never go out of style. You know, people are like, I don't have money. Go out and knock on doors. I don't want to knock on doors. Okay, go drive Uber, dude. I don't care. But you know how many people go out and knock on doors and make multiple six figures a year?
A shitload. That's why we're trying to get them here.
Correct. Dude, there are multi-billion-dollar companies that do that.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? It's like, and it doesn't have to be a forever plan. All the things I'm talking about this is not forever, but it's get you out of the hamster wheel plan. It's the right now plan. The get better later part, that does come. You will get better, and you don't have to do near as much to generate the same level of income. John Maxwell says, consistency compounds. Consistency compounds. And when you stack day after day, week after week, month after month, dude, this wheel starts to fucking go. And you start to see some deposits from days you worked before. You start to see back-end money. Do this for 12 months at a high level. You start to get back-end money, 2, 3, 4, 500 bucks a pop from stuff you did 9, 10, 11, 12 months ago. You start getting paid on a Labor Day from stuff you didn't even work. You know what I mean? It starts to come. Then you start to get little renewal money. Then you start building and you start getting overrides. Then you get back-end money on overrides. Then you get renewals on overrides. I remember when I started getting paid every day, dude. Every day. I remember the first time every day for a month, I got paid every single day that the banks were open. I was like, whoa, this is nuts. I remember getting close. I get paid like Monday, Tuesday. I'd miss Wednesday, I get Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I want to get paid every day. And then that started happening. And dude, then I remember when I started getting paid every day from every carrier. Because at first it was like Miracle today, Move tomorrow, MM, and maybe a couple little both. But then it was like 7 carriers deposit money every single day of the week. That got nuts, dude.
And you'll notice it when it's your first small one. You're like, oh, where did this $208 come from? I don't remember doing anything for that. And you're like,
Yeah,
it's either my back end or that's
yeah,
kind of like where it gets fun at scale. That
it does.
it's
And you know what's funny is like some people now, they're doing a little bit of work and they've got this like pile of money sitting at the carriers that they sort of forget about. And they say things like, I wasn't profitable. I just, rough mom, my ROI. And I'm like, even if you do 20 grand and nobody's confused, you're not lighting the world on fire at 20. You know what I mean? You have a couple chargebacks, you write some freaking guaranteed issue. You know what I mean? Like, or some of it's like IUL business. It's not really target. It's like the fluffed up number, whatever it is. Y'all get it. But at 20, 75% advance, I mean, you got 3, 4, 5 G's a month sitting there piling up at the carriers. It's like a savings account that most people forget about. You know what I mean? So someone out there is putting in some work and they're not quite seeing the pop they want. I'm like, dude, you might have 50 G's sitting at carriers coming to you, piled up. That's real money that comes out and it starts to affect things, dude. It starts to cover your lead bill. It starts to cover your mortgage. It starts to cover your car payments. It really starts to pop, you know. And there's something to be said when you start building the thing consistently, dude. It piles up, bro. And there'll be some that do it. I mean, there always is. And the reality of it is most won't, especially past Friday. There'll be some people on here get excited and they'll run through a wall for the next day or two. But it's like, I challenge you to keep it up. See what the next 90 days brings. Christmas be a lot different for you and your family if you go at it between now and December. I remember those Christmases sitting at home, man, hanging out with family at the Christmas parties. And all I could think about was the bills that were due and the lead bill coming up and the chargeback still come during that week off. You know what I mean? I'm like, and I couldn't focus on being with my family. I was there physically, but mentally I wasn't really there because I'm so stressed over stuff. 2015, dude, you dropped 350, 400 grand in your bank account. I was like, yo, this Christmas a lot different. You know, took my family, spent a week, took my vacation. Whoever was with me took care of everything. You know what I mean? I didn't have to think about nothing. Front loaded the week before, front loaded the week after. So my month was still the same. You know what I mean? It's like that year was a lot different, bro. And I hope more of you choose the right path so you can experience this stuff. Because it makes life a lot different, you know?
Well, dude, obviously you've been a huge staple in helping me move through this wild thing that we're doing. So I really appreciate you as always and taking so much time with us today. Hopefully you guys were paying attention, have some stuff written down in case you accidentally forgot. It's recorded, so I'll make sure it's up. And I would go through this probably a few times and figure out like, hey, this is what I always like to do the most, John, is go, this is an overload of information, which is going to screw you up if you try to take it all in. So figure out like,
Yeah.
these 2 things I can literally fix tomorrow and then do them today instead. That's what I would do.
Yeah. You know, most people write down a lot of notes. You know, I would say prioritize them, look at your list. Like Easton said, pick 1 or 2 and do it right now. And don't worry about the rest today, tomorrow. Just table those, you know, and expect it to take a minute. Just like you want to get in better shape. Buckle up. It's going to take a minute. And you get into it, you're going to drop some fat and some pounds pretty quick at the beginning. But then as you get going, the results feel a little slower day in and day out. But they're happening. They just happen minimally every single day. So it's like continuing to press forward during those off days and continue. It's like working out. I can go lift as much weight as I want. I can go put up fucking 250 pounds 4 sets of 10, 20, whatever I want right now. I'm going to have no more muscle today.
Zero.
It's not how it works. You know? And I think people know that, but they forget about it when they're out there by themselves trying to figure this thing out on their own. You know, so I really challenge you to change a lot of things you're doing and seek help and seek guidance. And, you know, you got a lot of people here to help you. And I do my best to provide as much value as I can. There's some of the people I recognize in here. I have a little school group that people can get into that I'm sharing a lot of stuff on. It's just johnwetmore.com/school. And you log in, and again, I put some content out there, some value. We have the YouTube, the podcast. I put out all kinds of stuff to help people, dude. But for me, I had a guy reach out. What group was he in? Oh, he's in Calvin's group. And he's like, hey, man, I just want to hit you up, man. I'm working with Calvin and Zach, and you know, I don't think they're the right fit for me. They just, you know, they don't listen to me, and I really need someone to sit down and listen to me. And I'm like, I responded, I was like, bro, if you think Calvin's tough, and he said something like, puts me under, I forget how he worded it, but it was like Calvin's tough. And I was like, first of all, if you expect someone that should be listening to you when you're new, other than like the initial, here's where I'm at and here's where I'm trying to get, you should be like 99% be doing the listening if you ain't where you want to be, you know? And I was like, dude, you think Calvin's tough? You would fucking hate me.
You're coming to the wrong source, my friend.
I was like, I ain't your guy, bro. Go beg Calvin to keep working with you. Because if I were him, I'd already gave you a release, dude. You know? So don't take for granted, man, the people you got in your corner. You know, and if you ain't getting the help you quote unquote think you deserve, I'd be willing to bet my life you aren't putting in the work it takes to get the attention of the people you want the help from. You know, mentorship, dude, you got to earn that stuff. Again, day one, you're going to get some help no matter who you are. But you've been here a few months. You got to keep earning that. You got to keep earning that, man. You know, and the best thing you can do is listen to people and mess it up all you want. It's the coachability that people love to see. You know, so go out there and be coachable every day. Those that are trying to figure this thing out, and you'll see results. You know, y'all in a good squad. You got a cool thing going on. Your group, everybody, y'all. Even though you're not in the same heart, y'all got a cool thing happening, dude. It's not many like it in the industry, and far too many people take it for granted.
Yeah, dude, it's moving quickly, and we got some good shit going on. So if you guys can blow up the chat with thank yous for John pouring back in. He's got a ton of shit that he 100% could be doing. So I do appreciate anytime we can get some time from you, man, because I know that you're all over the place all the time doing some enormous stuff. You guys will do 200 million this year as a squad.
We did 209 last year. So we sure as shit better do 200 this year. We'll be going backwards, and I don't like that backwards thing.
Yeah, it's rough.
I ain't a fan.
All right, dude. Well, man, I appreciate you again. You're the man. I'll get this thing out ASAP because there's a lot of stuff that we can implement starting 20 minutes ago. So
love it, dude. Get after it. If I can help y'all, let me know.
All right, see you guys.